Stephen Colbert has always been a media darling, but with his trademark brazen commentary and biting wit, he has reached new heights. Fans and critics alike are shocked, and no one saw this coming. How and what did he say that made such a stir? In the next episode, you'll find out why Stephen Colbert's most recent shocking revelation has gone viral. Stephen is the youngest of 11 children. Coming into the world in the nation's capital on May 13, 1964, Tyrone Colbert spent his formative years in Charleston, South Carolina. When he was 10, his father and two brothers were killed in an aeroplane crash. This was likely the most important event in his life, and he turned to reading, especially fantasy and science fiction by authors like J.R.R. Tolkien. Lost hearing in his right ear as a child because of a badly done surgery on a severely perforated eardrum. In fact, Colbert seems to take pride in a related trick he can do even though he doesn't have hearing when he winks. He can tuck his somewhat protruding right ear inside out and pop it back into place. Colbert brags about his prosthetic ear to David Letterman on The Late Show many years ago, making fun of the fact that it is only a prop. When he was a teenager, Colbert started to show school plays at Episcopal Porter God School in Charleston gave him a chance to express himself creatively. He had planned to major in philosophy at Hampton-Sydney College in Virginia, but he changed his mind because he felt that acting was where his heart truly belonged. After this revelation, he decided to switch his major to theater at Northwestern University, where he graduated in 1986. After finishing college, Colbert moved to Chicago. He started out in the business as a backstage worker for the Second City comedy troupe. Over time, he took improv classes and eventually joined the touring troupe of the Second City, where he performed all over the country. He made long-lasting creative connections with fellow comedians Paul Danilo and Amy Sedaris, whom he met at this event. Their sketch show, Exit 57, was created and starred in together. And Strangers with Candy was a parody of after-school specials. A 2005 movie based on the latter became a beloved cult classic, before Comedy Central picked up Strangers with Candy in 1997. Colbert became famous as a conservative correspondent on The Daily Show with Jon Stewart. His breakthrough performance on The Daily Show made him famous as a comedian and set the stage for a successful career in television. The early 2000s saw Colbert's meteoric rise to fame. As a famous stand-up comedian known for his biting deadpan wit, Colbert made fun of the talk show hosts who ruled the airwaves as a brash right-wing broadcaster. The show quickly rose to the top, attracting more than 1 million viewers every episode during the pilot. Stephen Colbert created the comedic show The Colbert Report. It was more than just a pastime for people who were thinking deeply about politics and the news. Stephen created a fictional conservative newsreader named Stephen Colbert. Stephen made fun of politicians and the media by assuming this persona. He did this in a way that was both strange and funny. Colbert was the featured speaker at the 2006 White House Correspondents' Association dinner. 6 months after the premiere of The Colbert Report, Colbert had an annoying outburst that split critics and silenced the audience as President George W. Bush and First Lady Laura Bush. Some people thought he was brilliant, while others thought he had gone too far. However, the controversy only made him more popular, and The Colbert Report went on to win multiple Emmys, including Outstanding Variety Series in 2013 and 2014. In April 2014, Colbert was chosen to replace David Letterman as host of The Late Show after Letterman announced that he would be retiring in 2015. Colbert said that his career high point was appearing as a guest on David Letterman's show. He said that everyone in late-night TV looked up to Dave as a leader, and that he had never thought he would follow in Letterman's footsteps. Colbert then told CBS how happy and grateful he was for hiring him and joked that he should probably go grind a gap in his front teeth after starting with the show. Colbert joined The Late Show as a host on September 8, 2015. It took a while for the show to find its new voice, but once President Trump took over the news, the show's adept hosts at handling politically charged humor propelled it to the top of the ratings. Big Questions with Even Bigger Stars, a regular segment that brought Colbert fame, had him and his guests staring at the sky while they engaged in silly philosophical speculation. Colbert found a voice that connected with people all over the world. His understanding and respect for David Letterman's history allowed him to add his own comedic style, which is what keeps late-night TV entertaining. After making the change, Colbert entered a new phase of his career in late-night comedy, one in which he skillfully mixed funny lines with serious topics. In March 2020, when production on The Late Show was halted due to the COVID-19 epidemic, Colbert became. Colbert's original contract with CBS was set to end at the end of the year, but he extended it to June 2023 to make sure he would have a job until at least 2026. The financial terms of the extension were not made public, but Colbert was said to have made about $15 million a year under his previous contract. The interesting turns in Colbert's personal life mirror those in his professional life. After his ex-girlfriend gave him the famous fish or cut bait ultimatum in 1990, he supposedly went ho. As I walked in, my first thought was, "That's crazy, stupid Colbert." I was proven to be right. That tragic night is also etched in the memory of Colbert's mother. He spent the whole evening talking to her. Colbert and his wife Evelyn have been married since 1993. They have 3 children: Maline, a daughter, Peter, a son, and John, a grandson. All 3 were born between 1995 and 2002. Colbert's private life seems pretty normal, even though he's been famous for decades. Steven and his family are always with him. His priorities have always been his family and his neighborhood. In an interview, Colbert said he was somewhat normal and that he had a great wife. In an interview with the New York Times in 2005, he said, "I am big on hugging. We are very silly." He also said that he reads to his kids before bed. According to reports, Colbert and his family go to church every Sunday because he is a devout Irish Catholic. When he has time, he has even been known to teach Sunday school. He has made no secret of the fact that his faith shapes how he thinks about many social and moral issues. By the way, Colbert says, "I am making fun of the world through my faith." Because he is friendly and open, Colbert will be able to have deep conversations about fairness and compassion on his show. He often does musical numbers, but you might not know that he is also a Broadway performer and Grammy winner. After releasing A Colbert Christmas in 2009, Colbert was awarded a Grammy. He shows off his dancing and singing skills during the musical holiday program, and his friend Stuart joined in the fun, making it a triple threat singing harmony on the smash hit. Would Hanukkah be able to capture your heart? Steven Colbert is famous for being funny and making people smile, but he also has a lot of sadness inside. On Anderson Cooper's new podcast, Steven talked about his sadness and loss in a very personal way, and he talked about how important it is to love things that you wish hadn't happened. Paul and Peter Colbert's 2 younger brothers were on a short flight from Charleston to Manhattan, Charlotte, North Carolina, on September 11, 1974. Eastern Airlines Flight 212, ADC-9, was on its way to Douglas Municipal Airport, seemingly following a routine. However, there was no way for the plane to reach Douglas, which was on an agricultural hillside 3 miles short of its runway of choice. The pilots lost track of the plane's height due to the hazy morning and recordings taken in the cockpit. However, bad weather wasn't the only problem. The pilot's lack of focus was the main problem. The crash was terrible, and of the 82 people on board, only 13 managed to survive the initial impact. Paul, James, and Peter were two of those who died. Over the years, Steven Colbert said that the deaths of his parents and siblings were his cod name. He went on to explain why he chose a pseudonym by. He said it better showed who he really was, and he linked the sadness he felt for his family's death to this secret name, which he said had a magical effect. Steven Colbert, who was only 10 years old at the time, had to grow up with his distraught mother after the deaths of his father and siblings. They were alone for a long time, which he revealed after seeing his mother suffer. Colbert admitted that he spent a lot of time reading. He said that he spent all of his allowance on books and read one every day. He also said that her example helped him deal with his own loss by showing him how to embrace the pain. He compared the death of his father and brothers to a huge explosion and said that he had to learn to accept it and even embrace the bomb while his father and two brothers were away. The amount of time Colbert spent with his mother, including reading, shaped many aspects of his later life, including his love of books. Colbert came to comedy, he said, to cheer up his mother after all she had been through. He also said that his mother's happiness was what drove him in his work, and he said he wished he had spent more time with her. Could make a depressed woman feel better. Steven Colbert was only 10 years old when his father and brothers died, but it took him almost twice as long to fully understand how terrible it was. He came to terms with the loss while he was in college, where he said he started his freshman year weighing about 185 pounds. He dropped to 135 pounds by the end of the year. What describes? He said that when he had some time to think about their absence, it hit him like a ton of bricks. Colbert suggested that his time away from home may have contributed to how long it took him to understand how serious his loss was. He said that 48 years seemed like a long time at the time, but in hindsight it was like a blink of an eye. After some tough years in school, he found that being in the theater was a truly soothing experience during this period. Colbert mentioned that he was utilizing Stanislavski and Mir techniques which allowed him to express his suffering to those around him. He said it was more of a therapeutic activity than an acting one, although he was hit hard by the belated impact of his father and brother's deaths at the time. He now experiences loss in a completely different way. Grief, he explained later on, is its own entity. It's not like I have it in my system, I'll just have to cope. It exists, and you must learn to accept it. It will be like a wolf barging in your door if you attempt to disregard it. Colbert said that his mother was the one who had the most impact on his outlook on life. He elaborated on how his mother had a significant influence in ensuring that he did not harbor resentment or animosity against his past. Colbert claims that she instilled in him an attitude of gratitude that he can apply to every aspect of life. The comfort God provides, he said, is not a life free of suffering, but rather the realization that his mother taught him that suffering can be a blessing, but that God doesn't actually give you another choice. He thought about this lesson when he had to deal with another devastating loss later in life. Lorna Colbert's mother died in 2013 at the age of 92. He took some time off from the Colbert Report to be with her during her last days. As a moving tribute to her, he went back to his show after her funeral but broke character by pausing his portrayal of the outrageous, far-right talk show host he had been since The Daily Show. "Watch my show if you like me. That's because of my mom," he said, giving credit to his mother for a lot of his success. He then talked about his mother's background and how it had affected him. He remembered that she had studied acting as a child and would practice stage falls on the kitchen floor with her kids. Her carefree spirit had an effect on his sense of humor, which he described as entertaining in his last conversation with her. Colbert went on to say that all she could remember was a bedtime prayer she had said to her siblings when they were little, and that she had dealt with the tragedy of losing loved ones. She said that a picture of a young woman tucking her children into bed was her favorite prayer memory, and she told us that we were the sun in her life. At the end of his speech, Colbert said that his mother had always urged him to keep his job. So he went on to the next part of the show, which was about the good things about losing someone. During his conversation with Colbert, he asked rhetorically, should it be so that all humans endure pain? The main goal of the Colbert Report, since its start in 2005, has been to make people laugh. Stephen Colbert has had a huge impact on culture, both in his extreme conservative persona and in his more relaxed self. Many comedians have talked about how important satire is in modern public debate, but Stephen Colbert was probably one of the most important. The Colbert persona introduced many unique aspects of sarcastic comedy to the public. First and foremost, Colbert. Colbert and his loyal fans, known as the Colbert Nation, offered a more comedic and sophisticated alternative to most pundits' aggressive, bombastic, and divisive style. By pretending to be a pundit, Colbert was able to warn viewers about the dangers of a nation where people vote out of fear, which brings us to our third and most important point about his character. The unique ways it encouraged analytical thought and lively debate exposing logical fallacies has been a hallmark of Colbert's satire. In his regular segment, he would read from a script while text bullets appeared on a graphic to his right. This was a great example of this style of presentation. It critically engaged the audience by making them navigate this knowledge, recognizing hypocrisy, doublespeak, and puns was necessary for the viewer to appreciate the Stephen Colbert has inspired a new generation of comedians and actors to tackle sensitive topics with an approachable mix of humor and political savvy. The way he expertly blends comedy and insight has shown that he can hold an audience's attention while addressing serious topics. Many aspiring comedians have been inspired by this idea because they know how powerful comedy can be in changing how people think about today's most important social issues. Satire is a powerful tool for doing this because it blends humor with the right amount of political savvy and populist zeal.